It's time for GGSP. I'm Rad.
And I'm Jem. Coming up on the show, Toe Jam Earl back in the groove. Is it a great new game or just a retro throwback for oldies? Plus, Will takes a look at how the Lego video games were built. Speaking of Will, where is he? The show's about to start.
I don't know. I saw him around here somewhere.
Ow! Ugh.
I've really taken this Lego thing a little too far, haven't I?
Let's punch the bass, Earl. Fire up the auxiliary mega subwoofer.
Okay,
That's the red button.
okay.
Earl, wait! No!
My back!
Watch out!
Catch me! Money!
Toe Jam Earl Back in the Groove is a remake of the original adventure dungeon crawler Toe Jam Earl, which was released way back in 1991 for the Sega Mega Drive. After crashing to Earth, funky fresh freestyler rappers Toe Jam Earl and the gang have to find pieces of their destroyed ship so they can return home.
I was afraid he was going to say that.
It really is a blast from the past booting up Back in the Groove. Everything from its colour scheme, music, and character design reminds me of the little Flash learning games I'd played in primary school. You can play as a selection of classic Toe Jam Earl characters introduced throughout the series, each with their own stats such as inventory space, speed, and luck. But don't worry about choosing the wrong one because it has almost no impact once you start leveling up.
Yeah, I think the only one that had any bearing for me was speed in the beginning, and because no one runs in this game, it was just a slightly slower slow walk. You gain XP to level up by taking part in dance competitions, shaking trees, digging through shrubs and freaking out the neighbours to search for presents.
My lovely house!
Using said presents on the troublesome Earthlings.
Oh my gosh, sign my game.
And finding ship pieces. This will see you rise through the ranks as you navigate each of the procedurally generated areas, trying to find the elevator to take you to the next level.
Depending on if you play in the fixed or random mode, the difficulty of each level will vary. Fixed mode sets you on a more linear progression system, with each stage adding more challenging enemies and obstacles. Whereas the random mode throws that out the door and randomizes enemy and loot placement from level to level.
Thank you.
I wouldn't call it a particularly difficult game though. You don't really fight enemies, more just avoid them. Or at least that's what I did. While there are power-ups in presents that do let you go on the offensive, because they're randomized, you never know what you're gonna get. Which didn't give me much incentive to bother wasting time collecting them. The only guarantee is that broken presents straight up suck, and unless you want to shell out for them to be fixed, they should be avoided, lest you get a nasty surprise.
I actually really liked the randomness. It added some unpredictability, you know? I like to roll the dice of life. I did find, though, that the offensive weapons, like the slingshot, for example, were difficult to handle as you've got no lock-on system, and it's tricky to get your character to face the right way when you go to fire.
Watch out!
But even so, I did find the presents fun, if absurd, and because there's such a wide variety to collect, I was kept on my toes even when the repetitiveness of the levels themselves began to drag.
Yeah, but if anything, that just seems to highlight how samey everything is without them. The odd minigame is thrown in here and there, like the dance battles. And this psychedelic rhythm game that really served only to give me a headache. But apart from that, it's just wash, rinse and repeat each new level.
Yeah, that is true, but it's with a purpose. They're replicating what the original game felt like. This was, after all, a crowd-funded project, and this is what the fans wanted. A game that stays true to the spirit of Toe Jam, which meant sticking to the formula. Even if that formula is pretty outdated by today's standards.
That's what I mean, though. Games have come a long way since 1991. I think for fans of the series, like you said, this will feel like a real nostalgia trip, and I hope they enjoy it. But judging it based on what it delivers in this era of gaming, I can't say I'm on board for the ride. I'm giving Toe Jam Earl Back in the Groove 2 out of 5 rubber chickens.
I agree that pitting this against titles that we have nowadays is a futile effort. But for fans, I don't think that'll matter. Back in the Groove delivers on its promise, a loud, colourful and completely absurd trip back to the 90s. I'm giving it 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Quick, what's some 90s slang so we can end this?
Rad is 90s slang. Rad. That's me.
Good spawning, Australia! It's time for the scoop with me, Darren! We've certainly scooped up some spicy gaming morsels for you this week. Why don't we get right into it with a brand new segment, Darren's Dialog Box. Oh, and hello, Jim.
Thanks, Darren.
The Dialog Box is our chance to reflect on the pressing issues of our gaming times. This week, what's going on with Sonic? Specifically, Sonic's appearance in the upcoming live-action film. Since the release of that movie poster, a Sonic style guide from design agency Hamagami Carroll Associates was leaked to the interwebs, causing another kerfuffle about Sonic's cinematic appearance.
A kerfuffle is right, Darren. Even Yuji Naka, who worked on the original Sonic, expressed doubts about the design. Some fans have responded with their own tweaks to the artwork, which seem to be a little closer to OG Sonic. But I don't know if any of this will influence how he'll actually appear in the film.
Indeed. Boatmeal, do you have anything to add about this artistic rendering of Sonic? Boatmeal. I wonder that too. He wonders if Tails will be involved in the film.
Of course he does.
Moving on now to the possible accidental announcement of a Forza mobile game. An unrelated community announcement from Forza Development Turn 10 featured an incorrect hyperlink to information about something called Forza Street, which is said to include support for a wide range of Windows 10, iOS, and Android devices.
Yikes, I wouldn't want to be in that link leaker's shoes. But a Forza mobile game of any kind does sound pretty intriguing.
Affirmative. I suppose we'll have to wait for an official announcement before Forza we know for sure. Get it?
Yes, good one, Darren.
On to another interesting development in gaming. The PS4 Remote Play app will now officially support iOS devices, allowing for more portable gaming experiences.
This is pretty good news, although the app does require high-quality Wi-Fi to play games, and I don't think you can use the official PS4 controller, yet anyway.
That's true. But for some players, this may at least be a nice way to fill the Vita-shaped hole in their hearts. Now, Jem, did you hear that Nintendo is making a Labo VR kit?
I did, Darren. An interesting move. But I'm more keen to know what the games available for it will actually be like. For me, the proof is in the playing.
I just hope it's better than the last time Nintendo dabbled in VR with the Virtual Boy. And now for the extra scoop! What piece of gaming goodness have you rustled up for us this week, Jem?
Well, Darren, I couldn't go past the playthrough of Super Mario 64 by a player known as Penencoek 2012 without using a joystick. Not only does he move through the world just using button taps and enemy attacks, but he actually defeats Bowser.
Impressive! Although, might I add that this was a tool-assisted run. Technology assisting humans once again. Oh. Now, let's have a hand for technology, everyone! Oh, affirmative. Where would we be without it?
Darren!
Oh, and please thank my guest, Jem! Oh. That's all we have for today. Goodbye, Australia, until we scoop again. Oh, goodbye.
You're pulling my femur. Oh, the word Lego is an abbreviation of the Danish words leg and got, which means play well. But in 1932, they certainly weren't talking about video games. Lego was made of wood back then. 86 years later, we are still playing well today. Maybe too well. The Lego video games are some of our favorites. The first digital Lego brick was placed in 1995 on an educational computer toy called the Sega Pico. Lego Fun to Build recreated the design and construction of Lego through simple mini-games. This exact building game would return 17 years later in the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit games. But as a first start for Lego's foray into games, Fun to Build was not really. It was Lego Island in 1997 that was the first true Lego game. with an open world to discover, side quests and missions to complete, and the birth of the slapstick humor that would continue on for over 20 years. This game was the blueprint.
You're going in a vase. Ugh.
Before the LEGO games started messing with movies, it was all about those theme games. LEGO Chess, the chess game. LEGO Loco, the train game. LEGO Racer, the racing game. LEGO Rock Raider, the rock raiding game. And of course, LEGO Friends, the next step up from imaginary ones. And then came LEGO Creator. LEGO Creator was set up as a simple construction title, intended to bring the physical plastic bricks into the digital realm. But when they added Harry Potter into the mix, it was clear the LEGO team had stumbled onto a hit formula. This was the spark that started the wildfire of LEGO movie games as we know and love, and occasionally don't. LEGO Star Wars the video game adapted the Star Wars prequel films and crafted the core mechanics of the entire LEGO franchise. Breaking stuff, building stuff, swinging from stuff, finding stuff, and pushing stuff. And to be honest, it's never stopped being fun. Oh, you can even force push Jar Jar Binks in this one. This formula remained true for the following LEGO Star Wars sequel and complete trilogy titles, just adding the red power brick collectibles into the mix, which granted a fun bonus or extra ability. You could also create your own wacky Star Wars character, using parts from unlocked friends and foes. This feature would be rolled into a core mechanic 12 years later in LEGO DC Supervillains and The Incredibles, crafting your very own super-powered protagonist. But in 2008, there was still more innovation to come, thanks to a certain part-time archaeologist. LEGO Indiana Jones The Original Adventures let you interact with the environment. Suddenly, bottles and chairs weren't just static objects, they were weapons. There were also puzzles to complete, which actually required a bit of skill. Characters also had phobias and fears now, meaning only specific characters could access certain areas. And we've seen this in heaps of LEGO games ever since, like having your entire horde of hobbits afraid of the dark, thus requiring Gandalf to light the way. And then, LEGO Batman, also released in 2008, introduced the concept of suits, wearables that can enhance abilities without the need to swap out characters. Giving the world of Batman such a versatile wardrobe demonstrated the love developers TT Games had for the characters they were playing with. So, of course, they eventually had to return to the franchise that started it all. The Harry Potter saga was split into 2 games, with each given the magic treatment. With so many spells to keep track of, the scroll wheel was introduced, a mechanic that has continued to crop up throughout the LEGO world. It's mostly used to switch characters and vehicles with ease. LEGO Harry Potter also introduced the idea of finding a character lost within a level. Whether it be a student in Harry Potter, a variety of themed heroes and villains in LEGO Dimensions, or dear Mr. Stan Lee in the Marvel video games.
Excelsior!
A year later in 2011, LEGO Star Wars 3 would shake up the franchise once more by adding boss battles. Yes, the dreaded boss battle. They require every ounce of gaming skills and sometimes just pure luck. And luck was something LEGO badly needed when it decided to tackle the toys to life genre. You'd think it would be easy bringing the physical LEGO toys back into the equation, but LEGO Dimensions in 2015 just didn't do enough with the toy scanning tech, only adding gamepad-based color puzzles into the mix. And after an okay start, Dimensions was officially cancelled with a 3rd year of content sent straight to the scrap pile. There were strong rumors that the 3rd year would have featured Minecraft-related toy packs, which makes a lot of sense considering where LEGO went next. LEGO Worlds plonked you in a vast multi-biome world and let you roam, acquiring objects, bricks, characters and more that you could then recreate. This freeform construction was LEGO in its purest form. You could build almost anything, brick by brick. But something didn't quite stick, and this wasn't the only Minecraft-inspired LEGO game. In China, they had something called LEGO Cube. If LEGO Worlds was vaguely Minecraftian, this one's far more direct. How was this even allowed? I guess you could say that stacking little bricks to build stuff was LEGO's forte long before Minecraft was a thing, so we'll let them have this one. So, where does LEGO go next? Developer TT Games are doing their best to shake up the formula, as we've seen in the LEGO Movie 2 game with non-character specific abilities, building without smashing, and terrifying toddler voice Duplo.
Hello!
But this all feels like baby steps, a careful search for a meaningful change to a tried and true formula. It might be that it's time for the LEGO games to just smash and rebuild. At least we got something to do while we wait. Whoa, whoa, ow, hey, wait.
Okay, Red, are are you all set for some garden fresh gaming questions?
Garden fresh, you say? I didn't know questions grew like that.
Oh yeah, they grow thick and fast in the question garden. Like this one from Epic Will in Launceston.
What do you water them with?
Knowledge. Dear GGSP, I have 2 questions for you. 1, in the holidays, I got the game Wargroove and I got stuck on the 3rd level, so I was wondering if you had any tips for us spawnlings. 2, I have a question about cosplay for Gem. What material do you use for your Wargroove armor? Thanks for your answer, from Epic Will. Also, please do more online live streams. Thanks, Epic Will. To your first question about tips for Wargroove, well, I agree it can be pretty tricky at times.
Can indeed. Luckily, we've put together a handy video to help you through. You can check this out on our online channels for some great pointers for approaching battle, like choosing the best tile to attack from, and taking your time to expand on the battlefield.
And remember, if you're really struggling and just want to progress through the campaign, you can always customize the difficulty. Plus, a recent update introduced a checkpoint system, which is sure to help out too.
Now to the cosplay question for you, Gem. How did you make that wonderful Wargroove armor?
Well, I can't take full credit. Our fabulous ABC costume department put our outfits together, but I did make Boatmeal's Caesar armor out of foam, some glue, and a lick of paint. That glue was hot glue though, so if you plan on using that, you'll need to get a grown-up involved.
Oh, it's like a mini Crafternoon segment up in here. And you did an amazing job. How cute did Boatmeal look, all battle ready? He's not allowed to go into battle though. Anyway, I can confirm that we will be continuing our online live streams this year, every Friday afternoon. They're so much fun.
Now moving on to a video question from Ethan.
Hi, Good Game Spawnpoint. I have 2 questions for you. 1, have you ever done a review on Hello Neighbour? And 2, when will Secret Neighbour come out in Australia?
Thanks, Ethan. In answer to your first question about whether we reviewed Hello Neighbour, well, no, we haven't officially reviewed it. But Gem did stream it last year, so you can check that out online.
Yes, indeed. Watch that if you'd like to see me somewhat terrified and very much frustrated. As for when Secret Neighbour might come out in Australia, well, for those who don't know, Secret Neighbour is the multiplayer expansion for Hello Neighbour. It was teased back in E3 last year. And apparently you will also be able to play as the neighbour himself.
Ah, how the tables have turned. The hunted becomes the hunter.
Sure. Anyway, Secret Neighbour is currently still in alpha testing phase, with the release date said to be 2019-ish. So that's suitably vague, and I think it might just be for PC initially. But there is an official website set up for Secret Neighbour. Maybe you could get on the alpha testing yourself.
That is a really good idea, Gem. Now on to our next question, and it's from Masterhand in Final Destination ACT. Noob alert. I have a noob accusation that I must share with you. In the first episode of GGSP in 2019, Darren said that Echo Fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate are the same and are for personal preference, which is false. Echo Fight are different characters in the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster with noticeable changes, such as Ken being faster than Ryu and having fire effects on most of his moves, and how Daisy and Peach have different hitboxes. So Darren must now drink from the noob cup. P.S. Welcome to the show, Will.
What is this? A noob accusation for Darren? Holy moly, this is exciting.
Yes, in fact, I've noticed quite a few of our vigilant GGS peeps have brought this matter to our attention. We'd better get Darren on the line and inform him of his newfound status as the custard of the busted variety.
Definitely. This is gonna be good.
Ahoy, Darren speaking.
Hi, Darren. Get your noob court shoes on, Buster, because there is a noob accusation against you from Master Hand.
Oh, you're busted custard, Darren. Busted custard.
What? That's ludicrous, preposterous, outrageous. What are the details of this bogus proposal?
So, when you were talking about Echo Fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in Ask SP in the first ep of the year, you said that Echo Fighters are the same as other fighters, but they're not. And apparently, some may have better abilities.
I think you'll find that I acknowledged that Echo Fighters do in fact have some slight alterations, but as with all Smash character selection, I maintain that this is a matter of personal preference rather than some Echo Fighters being necessarily superior.
But what about the point about different hitboxes and Ken's speed and fire effects and all of those things? Doesn't that mean that some Echo Fighters are just better?
Well, all fighters in Smash Brothers have strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons. So even with slightly different hitbox configurations or minor changes to speed or moves, the success you have with any fighter still depends on your play style. Some players will prefer and play better using the movesets of certain fighters. Other factors, such as who your opponent is and even the stage, may influence your fighter selection too. So, saying that there is always an objective benefit to choosing certain Echo fighters over their original fighter would be misleading. I shan't be penalised for what is essentially a matter of opinion. I shan't, and I won't.
But Darren always gets away with this. Can't we, I don't know, yellow card him?
That's a great idea. Yeah, let's do that. Darren, we think this at least calls for a yellow card. You should have mentioned that stuff about hitboxes and such in the first place.
Negative. I'll be filing an appeal with the noob court to have that yellow card expunged from my record post-haste. Goodbye.
No amount of sponges can clean up your noobery, Darren. Bye.
Oh, that pesky Darren. Don't worry, we'll catch him out sometime. And on that note, we're out of time. If you have a question for us, be it video or question or otherwise, head here and send it in.
And don't forget, video questions we choose to be on the show will earn themselves a GGSP pin, so why not give it a try? Right, let's go round up all the sponges so Darren can't expunge the noobery from his record.
I don't think that's what he meant by expunge, but sure, who doesn't like sponges?
I love sponges. Sponges are great.
Well, that's it for another episode of GGSP, but we'll be back next week. Maybe not bigger, but how about better?
Yeah, we can do that. We'll have our review of the intergalactic exploration epic that is Astroneer.
It has been in early access for some time, but this is the final full release. I wonder if it lets you travel to the Barjo system.
Maybe, but you'd have to pass through the Cheese Toasty Nebula.
Yeah, and I hear it's super dangerous if you're lactose radiation intolerant.
Don't forget to check out the online content we've got for you. This week, some excellent starting out tips for my time at Porsche.
Also, come visit our live streams on Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's rather fun.
Until then, be nice, have fun, and keep gaming. Gem out.
Rat out.
Will out.
Darren out.